Welcome to Front Office Pros. The 2023 season has come to a close, and after Joe and I had done some digging, we realized that the 2023 rookie draft was quite impactful to your Dynasty leagues. Well, Joe and I are here to redraft the 2023 rookie draft, tell you who we would draft right now if we had the chance to.
Hike!
So for this episode, Joe, we're going to be referencing our home league, Dynasty League. And in that league, it's a 16-team league, so quarterbacks come at a premium. You could think of it as a super flex league because there is some increased scoring for quarterbacks. Additionally, we have tight end premium scoring, and to boot, we also have IDP. So we're going to go to the first round, the first 16 picks that happened in our draft. So the first pick overall was quarterback Bryce Young. Second pick overall, running back Bijan Robinson. 3, quarterback Anthony Richardson. 4, running back Jahmyr Gibbs. Number 5, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Number 6, defensive tackle Jalen Carter. Number 7, defensive end Will Anderson. Number 8, wide receiver Jordan Addison. Number 9, tight end Dalton Kincaid. Number 10, wide receiver Quentin Johnston. Number 11, wide receiver Jonathan Mingo. Number 12, wide receiver Zay Flowers. Number 13, quarterback CJ Stroud. Number 14, tight end Michael Mayer. Number 15, tight end Sam Laporta. And number 16, defensive tackle Mozzie Smith. So, Joe, this will be unique to some because some of the people may not play IDP, but we're going to be going through our 16 players. So, Joe, start us off. Who is number 1 for you in this redraft?
Yeah, now, not only is this guy number 1 for me now, but this guy would have been number 1 for me during the actual rookie draft if I had the chance and had the number 1 pick to take him, and that is quarterback CJ Stroud. I mean, how could you not take this guy number 1 with the phenomenal rookie season that he had? Really just the deep ball accuracy he had. I like, just the way he could hang in there, be a pocket passer. And even showed off some athleticism, and this guy really carried the Texans to the playoffs this year, so I was very impressed and really thought he was the most NFL-ready quarterback, and he showed that this year.
Yeah, so my number 1 overall is different than yours, Joe, and that's going to be running back Bijan Robinson as my number 1 overall. Here's the thing, Joe. He had a pretty good season even with Arthur Smith as his head coach. So now that Arthur Smith will no longer be his head coach, I feel a lot better about his future going forward. And he had an impressive year already. So to me, I like him as my number 1 option because I do think he is a generational type running back.
Yeah, the only scary part about taking running backs is, number 1 or just in the first round in general and early, it's just the short lifespan that the running backs have in the NFL, which you don't really get the greatest long-term investment on your players.
I get that. I mean, but Bijan Robinson was number 4 overall when it comes to running backs for receiving yards. He had 487 receiving yards. Shout out to Dustin, who said Bijan was not a receiving running back. And then also he had almost 1,000 yards rushing. So to me, he's a slam dunk number 1. So, Joe, who do you got for 2?
At 2, I'm going with quarterback Anthony Richardson. And this guy showed the flash of athleticism. Unfortunately, his season was cut short by injury. Hopefully that's not something that keeps happening, but he is a little bit of a risky option of that because, he is a runner. He will take those hits. Hopefully he learns to protect himself more and slide in the future. But just his athletic ability and potential to be that guy for the Colts moving forward, I got him at 2.
Yeah, you're going to be shocked by this, maybe not, but my number 2 is also quarterback Anthony Richardson. This is a potential play here when it comes to Richardson. We saw what he was able to do in the 2 games he was healthy. He was a QB1 on the week. He got injured halfway through the Houston Texans game. He didn't play another game, and then he went out for the season. So we saw what he was able to do in the times that he was healthy. And I really like Shane Steichen. I didn't think I'd say that, but I think he was the mastermind behind Philadelphia. And so as a result, I really like the outlook for Richardson with Steichen as the head coach.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's clear, like you said, Jalen Hurts last year's season was successful because of Steichen. certainly wasn't because of Sirianni, and we all know that now.
Not good. Not good. So, Joe, who do you got for number 3 overall?
Probably going to be surprised with this one, Steve. Number 3, but I'm going with wide receiver Puka Nacua.
Oh, boy.
And I think this guy is already going to be, a top 5 dynasty wide receiver. So I'm going to go ahead and take him here. Like I said, I just like the potential long-term value of the wide receiver, so I'm willing to take him higher than, Bijan or Jahmyr Gibbs at the running back position, just because you should be able to get that lengthy, longer-term investment because he'll play longer.
Yeah, for number 3, I've got quarterback CJ Stroud. I like Stroud, and you obviously had him number 1. He has really proven to be a very good quarterback. I just wonder if he's going to get any better than what he is now. And if he's as good as he is now, it's just like he's not great. He's good. I don't think he's a league winner. I just think he's a good quarterback. So as a result, I'm reluctant to have him ahead of Bijan Robinson and Anthony Richardson, who I believe both those players are league-winning type of players.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think Stroud can certainly help you, lead you to the league winners. I mean, he showed that he doesn't really turn the ball over as a rookie and, gets touchdowns. I think he would have even been better. Obviously, he got hurt, missed a couple of games there, but also the loss of Tank Dell really hurt him as far as those big games and the big yardage games. So I think there's still potential for him to grow and get better and potentially be one of those league winner type guys.
All right, Joe, who do you got it for?
At 4, I've got tight end Sam Laporta.
Another one of your guys.
Yeah, I told you, man. I liked him. It's the number 1 tight end. You were all over Kincaid. I liked Laporta. Laporta ranked as, the number 1 tight end this year. It wasn't Travis Kelce, and he did that as a rookie, and it was really impressive. And I mean, obviously, if he's doing that as a rookie, he's only going to grow and get better from here.
So for number 4, I'm going with defensive end Will Anderson. This is our first IDP player on the board for me. But I'll tell you what, Joe, I think Will Anderson is a real deal coming out of Alabama. I thought he had that pedigree. You saw what he was able to do in the SEC. Was he going to carry it with him? And it wasn't a dominant year, but he had 7 sacks. He had 22 QB hits. You're already starting to see him make an impact on the game in the playoffs. I think his future is bright. I think he's going to be one of the next elite edge rushers in our league.
Yeah, he definitely could be. You talked about the sack numbers. He had a good amount of quarterback hits as well. For a rookie, he missed a couple of games and was still right up there with some of the other edge rushers. So I do agree. I think he's going to grow and be an elite edge rusher potentially.
So who do you got at number 5, Joe?
Number 5, we got Bijan Robinson. Obviously, for all the reasons you mentioned, and like you said, just being able to get out from underneath Arthur Smith, and hopefully, I don't know if I like Belichick coming in there so much. It would depend on.
Whoa, Belichick's coming in?
That's the rumor.
You're already ahead of the rumors, Joe.
Well, the rumors are Belichick. There's mutual interest there. I mean, he's the only guy that really main guy that they've reported to interview at this point. So I just see getting rid of Arthur Smith is a plus, but if they bring in Belichick, we've seen him not be able to bring in offensive coordinators. I don't know. Hopefully they get it right. But Belichick, one thing, he does like to run the ball. So I think he'll stick with the young rookie if he does happen to go there.
Yeah, so for number 5, I'm going to go with wide receiver Puka Nacua. Just talked about him in a recent video. I mean, how could you not have? I mean, every fiber in me, I don't know what it is. It doesn't want me to put him that high because it's Puka Nacua. To me, you should have a guy like Jackson Smith-Njigba or Jordan Addison was one of these first-round wide receivers. But Puka. I mean, so long as Matthew Stafford is there, guy's going to be really good. I just don't know if he's quarterback proof. That's my only thing with him. And a part of me would not want him to be as high, but you can't say that a guy like Jackson Smith-Njigba is quarterback proof because what did he do with Geno Smith? So at this point, we have to make our decisions based on what's in front of us today. And what's in front of us today is Puka Nacua, it's Matthew Stafford, it's a lethal combination.
Yeah, I think this guy could be quarterback proof just because he knows how to get open and he's already a really good route runner. And it's just he gets open on those quick little slants, and then if you hit him in stride, he can take it the distance too. So we'll see. But even without Stafford, I think he's going to be good.
All right, Joe, who do you got for 6?
For 6, I've got Will Anderson Jr. Obviously, we talked about him. I don't have him too far off of his view, so
Good choice, Joe. I was wondering how far he was going to be going behind. And it looks like you and I are now matched with our 6 and 6 because I'm going to go at tight end Sam Laporta. I got to swallow a pill there because I thought Kincaid was a lot better. But again, you got to take into account what it is today. Had Dawson Knox not been on the roster, would have put Kincaid ahead of him. But at this point, Knox is on a multi-year contract. Plus, he's a very team-friendly guy. He's been a part of the culture in Buffalo. I just don't see them moving away from a guy like him, which means it's really going to be a 2 tight end system there. Whereas Laporta, he's the guy. And we saw how dominant he was, broke records this year. Hard not to put him here, especially for us in tight end premium.
Yeah, very interesting. We got the same first 6 players here. We'll see how that shakes out for the rest of the way.
Yeah, so who are you breaking into number 7, Joe?
I've got Jahmyr Gibbs, number 7. The talks was he was getting closer to Bijan in the actual real NFL draft as far as, evaluators and where he could possibly go. Lions take him in the first round. People get some flack for it, but this guy looks special. Just love his athletic ability. He's so quick and so fluid. I got him at 7 here.
I got Jahmyr Gibbs at number 7 as well, Joe.
Wow.
For the same reasons you do. Guy is very explosive, has 10 rushing touchdowns on the year, which is pretty impressive, almost 1,000 yards, and really he wasn't used as heavily early on. So for him to be able to do what he's been able to do is pretty remarkable. The same reasons. The only thing is with running backs, it's the shelf life. That's the danger.
Yeah.
But, there's going to be probably a year or two when Montgomery is no longer on the team. Wonder if they'll replace Montgomery, if it's going to be the Gibbs show. We'll see.
Yeah, I do think that potentially could help prolong Gibbs' career, just having, Montgomery handle a lot of that load and, the smash it up the middle plays up the middle, and they're really letting Gibbs, eat in the passing game and kind of on the edge of the defense.
So who do you got for number 8, Joe? So far, we're tit for tat over here.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to have this guy at 8, so I'm going to go with wide receiver Jordan Addison. Was really impressed with him. The reason I got him at 8 over some of the other guys is simply his age. He's 21 years old, and a lot of the other rookie wide receivers are, 24 or 22 or year or two older than him. And I was really impressed with his rookie season coming out. I know there's question marks at the quarterback, whether or not Kirk Cousins comes back or what he could do without him. But to me, even without Kirk Cousins, Nick Mullins, and even other guys that came over and joined the Vikings carousel was able to get him the ball, and he still produced and showed his explosiveness down the field.
You are correct. I do not have Jordan Addison at number 8. I have wide receiver Rashee Rice at number 8. In my view, hard to have him not there. Guy's been an absolute tear in Kansas City. I know you have your doubts as to will he stay the lead dog in Kansas City or will they replace him with some top talent? There's going to be a decent amount of wide receiver free agents coming up, so Kansas City could elect to go ahead and do that. But for me, I think that Rashee Rice has been on a tear, and I'd want a piece of that Chiefs offense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. He was really impressive, especially down the stretch here. I like his ability to, kind of like Puka, the plays, yards after the catch that he can have, and he also has those kind of abilities for the big plays as well.
So are you enjoying this video so far? Well, if you are, show your support to our new channel by hitting the subscribe button and liking this video. We'll be creating videos all NFL season long, so you're not going to want to miss what we have in store. All right, Joe, so who do you have for number 9?
Number 9, I've got Bryce Young. That's probably going to surprise you.
Whoa!
Like you said, I mean, it's quarterback premium in our league. Still think, even though he had a disappointing rookie year, I think a lot of that had to do with, just the coaching staff. Frank Reich, he's gone. I am a little concerned with the volatile situation in Carolina with that, their owner, Tepper, he could struggle kind of, like the Bakers and the Browns organizations with, as far as just kind of never being able to solidify consistency at the head, whether it's head coach or offensive coordinator. But despite all that, he's still young quarterback, and if he happens to turn into whatever one thought prior to this year, I think at 9 it makes a lot of sense.
Very interesting. That threw me for a loop. I was not expecting that out of you. Number 9 for me is defensive tackle Jalen Carter. In a league for us where you got to start 2 defensive tackles do not fall off trees, and Carter is extremely impressive. For him to accumulate 6 sacks in his rookie season, I feel like is unheard of. Now, mind you, Kobe Turner did even better than him, so you could be arguing, why don't I have Turner over him? But I think Kobe Turner has benefited greatly being next to Aaron Donald, whereas I think Jalen Carter, although he has a decent supporting cast on the Philadelphia Eagles defensive line, I think Carter is going to be a guy who's going to dominate the league in the next 2 or 3 years. So to have a guy like him on your roster, I think it would pay huge dividends.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Jalen Carter ahead of Kobe Turner as well. Despite the production, like you said, I think it's just, we all know Fletcher Cox. He might not even be there next year. He's an aging veteran. He's currently playing in front of Jalen Carter. At some point, the Eagles are gonna, move on from these older guys, and him and Davis, who was drafted the last year, and their college teammates, they're going to be the running mates inside for Philly going forward.
Who do you got for number 10, Joe?
Number 10, I've got Tank Dell at number 10.
Interesting.
This guy was absolutely electric, and probably, I mean, if he didn't get hurt, I mean, he was going to be right up there in terms of production overall. And it was really impressive that I want to say he had the amount of touchdowns he had as well. He had 7 touchdowns in 11 games played as well, on top of all, also had over 700 yards. So close to 1,000 yards in 11 games was really, really impressive. And we all talk about the sophomore breakouts these wide receivers have. We'll see if his connection with CJ Stroud will continue next year.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised, being that you're so fond of CJ Stroud and the Texans. My number 10 is tight end Dalton Kincaid in a tight end premium league.
This doesn't surprise me.
I think Kincaid is the guy who's going to be a stud going forward. I mean, he is going to be really Josh Allen's main primary weapon probably in the next, 5, 6, 7 years. Most likely Kincaid would, they're going to give him the 5th-year option. Most likely he ends up re-signing. Allen's going to have a primary option. Stephon Diggs isn't getting any younger. So for me, I think Kincaid is proven to be, quite athletic and quite good in his rookie year. I believe he broke records for the Bills as far as either the most catches or most yards for a rookie receiving entity, whether receiver or tight end. So I think the future's bright for Kincaid.
Yeah, makes sense. I definitely have him in the first round here as well, just not at number 10. I would have had him higher, if it wasn't for Dawson Knox, because we just the splits between him being the sole tight end and Knox being there wasn't comfortable. Like you said, Dawson Knox is still going to be around for a couple more years. Hopefully, if Joe Brady's going to be the offensive coordinator, if they make another switch in the offseason or whatever, hopefully they figure out how to utilize both of these guys.
Is he at 11?
No.
Who's at 11?
I got Jalen Carter at 11.
Okay. So not too far off from me.
Nope. As we mentioned, I mean, we start 2 defensive tackles, and this guy, showed he was dominant right in as a rookie, and that's with being rotated in and out and not having the most playing time. If that playing time jumps, like you said, with the veterans going out, I mean, he's going to be really dominant.
At number 11 for me, I'm going to do a little twisteroo for me, because I'm looking at my rankings and thinking I got this backwards.
Oh,
so
boy.
Number 11, I'm going to go Jackson Smith and Jigba. I believe he was the most talented receiver in this past draft. He obviously didn't get the amount of volume that I was hoping in his rookie season, but he was behind DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So, it does make some sense. But he passed the eye test, in my view, watching him. And I think Lockett is not going to be there for much longer. He's going to take over for Lockett, in my opinion. So I like JSN.
Yeah, I like JSN as well. I mean, like you, I agreed. I thought he definitely was the best wide receiver coming out. Obviously, some of those less talked about guys have really impressed, but we all knew too that Jason, his rookie year, was going to be a little lower than expectations, just because, like you said, with Metcalf and Lockett there. But he's got a lot of the same intangibles that Lockett has as far as his route running and everything else, and was able to show flashes of that. And once he is the guy, then he'll really have the value.
So who do you have at number 12?
Number 12, I've got Rashee Rice, and that's for everything that we talked about when you picked him.
Interesting. So you have him quite a bit lower than I do.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's he's got him at 12. I mean, it's still respectable. There are just other guys that I like a little higher over him.
At 12, I got wide receiver Jordan Addison. I don't think he's quarterback proof, and that's my concern. If Kirk Cousins is on his way out, I think it could be concerning. Now, if he comes back, maybe it's it could be a different story. But at the end of the day, I still think he's a Robin to Justin Jefferson's Batman. I don't know if he'll ever be a guy who could eventually be the guy, whereas Rashee Rice is the guy. Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think, could become the guy eventually. I don't see that for Addison. That's why I got him at 12.
But do guys really have to be the guy in order to produce really well for fantasy? I'm not so sure about that. I mean,
no, but I'm just saying though, if we're trying to draft for potential, that to me factors into it.
Yeah.
If your other receiver is going to garner 10, 11 targets a game, then that's how many targets do you get?
Yeah, well, I mean, they passed quite a bit, so both of them got a decent amount of targets, and I mean, Addison was able to show his explosiveness as well and get into the end zone. So, and like I mentioned, I mainly have him as high as I do because of his age, and those other guys are going to hit their 30s faster than him because he's only 21.
All right, Joe. So who do you got for number 13?
Number 13, I've got Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Okay, so not too far from me.
Nope.
Well, for 13, I got Tank Dell. This one was a tough one because I'm not a biggest fan of his, but you can't deny the production, like you said.
Yeah.
I mean, for him to do what he did in so few games, I mean, the guy was incredible.
Yeah, he really was. I mean, exceeded everyone's expectations, really. I mean, for him to produce like that and be on the same page with Stroud. I mean, Stroud pounded the table for them to draft this guy and didn't disappoint the Texans, that's for sure.
All right, who do you got for 14? I think it's going to be Kincaid.
Nope, not Kincaid here.
Who is it?
Going with Zay Flowers.
Okay.
At 14. Really like his production as well. I know you were concerned with his landing spot and Lamar Jackson, everything else, but he really looks explosive. Lamar was able to get him the ball, and I think this is a respectable spot for him.
This pick is going to knock your socks off, knocks my socks off, and it shows I'm turning a new leaf. But number 14, I've got running back Devon Achane. This was the hardest pick for me to put in here, but the guy is so explosive. You called this way before. I was fading him big time. But the big thing with him is I only like him in McDaniel's system, though. Mike McDaniel knows how to use them. I don't know if every coach in the league would know how to use them. And if McDaniel's on kind of, on the rocks here, that does kind of concern me. But Raheem Mostert's not getting any younger. Jeff Wilson's not getting any younger. Achane's going to be a buzzing pick probably this whole upcoming season. People are going to be too high on him in order for me to take him. I'll probably be more respectable for what I think of him. But I'm not. But people are going to go absolutely, goo goo gaga over this guy, and I think that's a mistake. But I got to give him credit for where it's due, and he's the type of guy who can win you matchups because of how explosive he is. Just felt like he had to fit in this first round. If this was 2023, Steve, I probably would have left him off. 2024 has got him on there.
2024, Steve's a different Steve. Yeah, I honestly don't have him in my first round, but he definitely considered it. I just liked the other guys better. But yeah, I mean, part of the reason I liked Achane was because of Mike McDaniel and this Miami offense, and they truly are a track meet, and that's exactly what this guy is.
All right, Joe, what do you got for 15?
15, Steve. Here you go. The Dalton Kincaid moment.
There it is, finally.
Got him at 15. I was of the opinion, fade the rookie tight ends. These tight ends were different this year, kind of proved us wrong. And, well, not us wrong. I should say proved me wrong. With Laporta.
Yeah, come on now. I was a big fan of the rookie
Yeah.
tight end from the beginning.
Yes, you were. And Kincaid, definitely, I don't know if he was as, I don't know. What do you think? Did he ended up hitting your projections?
No, but I have to check. But I think he definitely, I don't know if he exceeded expectations, but he definitely performed.
Yeah, he definitely, I wasn't sure what to expect out of him. He kind of exceeded my expectations, especially once he was the sole tight end, and would have had him higher if he truly was the sole tight end on that team.
So for number 15, Joe, guy you were down on in the draft, and I told you otherwise. I told you he was going to be good. As wide receiver Jaden Reed. Really like what he's done with the Green Bay Packers. You could argue that he may be the number one guy, in my view. In our home league, he ends up being the wide receiver 2 as far as rookies go on the year. Don't know, depending. Obviously, we account for first downs. Not sure how much that goes into it. But he had 8 touchdowns, almost 800 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns on top of it. Really like Jaden Reed going forward. I felt he fit this first round.
Yeah, the only thing that concerns me is just how many other guys that they have. And I know injuries played a big part in his emerging and him getting a lot of utilization. And Jordan Love doesn't have a favorite target. He really just peppers everybody, including their tight ends as well. So it'll be interesting going forward how this whole wide receiver room for the Green Bay Packers shakes out. But I really can't blame you. I thought about sticking him in here as well, but decided not to.
All right, Joe, who's your final pick for this redrafting of the first round?
Final pick, I'm going with Kobe Turner, Steve.
Wow, defensive tackle Kobe Turner.
Defensive tackle Kobe Turner. I felt like I had to get him in there in the first round, just the way he played and him being able to have the sack production he had. Really he graded out as a really good run defender in the draft process, but he only had like 3 sacks. It was like his highest that he had in college. But for him to come out and do what he did in the NFL here, especially with the pass rush, that's exactly what you want from a defensive tackle.
For my last pick, I got wide receiver Zay Flowers. This was a tough one for me. Almost did not put him in the first round. I did not have Bryce Young in here, interestingly enough, and you did, which is quite shocking. But when it comes to Flowers, I just don't know. I mean, Baltimore has never been a good place for a receiver. He's done well. Just don't know if the market truly supported wide receiver 1. He just, he kind of spreads it around. But I felt like he's a pretty explosive guy, so I ended up putting him in the first round.
Yeah, it's his explosiveness and his abilities. If they just run those screen plays to him, I mean, he can house them. He showed him that. So you're right. He might not get the most volume compared to other receivers, but all he needs is a few touches and have a great game.
So going through Joe's 2023 redraft, number 1, he had quarterback C.J. Stroud. Number 2, quarterback Anthony Richardson. Number 3, wide receiver Puka Nacua. Number 4, tight end Sam Laporta. Number 5, running back Bijan Robinson. Number 6, defensive end Will Anderson Jr. Number 7, running back Jahmyr Gibbs. Number 8, wide receiver Jordan Addison. Number 9, quarterback Bryce Young. Number 10, wide receiver Tank Dell. Number 11, defensive tackle Jalen Carter. Number 12, wide receiver Rashee Rice. Number 13, wide receiver Jackson Smith and Jigba. Number 14, wide receiver Zay Flowers. Number 15, tight end Dalton Kincaid. And number 16, defensive tackle Kobe Turner. For my redraft, I had number 1, running back Bijan Robinson. Number 2, quarterback Anthony Richardson. Number 3, quarterback C.J. Stroud. Number 4, defensive end Will Anderson Jr. Number 5, wide receiver Puka Nacua. Number 6, tight end Sam Laporta. Number 7, running back Jahmyr Gibbs. Number 8, wide receiver Rashee Rice. Number 9, defensive tackle Jalen Carter. Number 10, tight end Dalton Kincaid. Number 11, wide receiver Jackson Smith and Jigba. Number 12, wide receiver Jordan Addison. Number 13, wide receiver Tank Dell. Number 14, running back Devon Achane. Number 15, wide receiver Jaden Reed. And number 16, wide receiver, Zay Flowers. As you can tell, this 2023 draft was quite good, and not every draft is the same. The 2023 draft, I believe, is one of the better drafts in the past 2 years. There were a lot of guys I know I had that did not make the list that I would have liked to make the list. Just didn't have enough spots for them. The same for you too, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a few other players that I left off that I thought were potentially worthy for this list.
It's not too late to start looking at the 2024 draft. Joe and I will be here throughout the whole offseason, heading up to the draft, talking about the prospects. Hopefully it'll be as good as this one. Don't know if it will be. Going to be a pretty big wide receiver class. So that'll be exciting for those of you.
Interesting. Looking back at this one, man, there's a ton of 2023 wide receivers that turned out to be really good. So we'll see if 2024 can live up to the hype.
You bet, Joe. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.